Found footage movies are a subgenre to horror, including camera work that is handheld, unstable, and perceived as being discovered at the setting of the movie after the events that happened in the timeline happen. Found footage movies have a cult-like following similar to the 80s slasher movie craze. But would you be surprised if I told you that found footage movies have been produced since the 60s? That's right, The Connection, a film released in 1961, is considered the first found footage movie ever recorded, but it didn't really catch on till the late 90s, early 2000s. After The Connection, there was The Other Side of the Wind, Cannibal Holocaust, for those people that are into disturbing movies, you probably already heard of that one, America's Deadliest Home Video, and then finally, tell me where you are, John! The Blair Witch Project. The Blair Witch Project was huge and put found footage movies on the map, in all honesty. This was a whole new chord that people never seen before. Some people loved it, some people hated it. Marketing was a huge thing for this movie, even including an ARG. There was also like a website that had like missing people and it had like the main characters. But the main selling point for this movie was that a lot of people thought it was real.
Saturday night, you'd think that we were a big town instead of a crossroads.
There were people that were removing dirt from the cemetery and selling it online.
So many people thought that the contents of this movie took place in real life, which is honestly fair because the actors killed it. In the project, they also didn't have a script. They just knew kind of like what happens in the movie and just kind of wing it. So, you know, that helps a lot. It was truly groundbreaking, but that's not why we're here today. Today we're here because of a little film that got released in 2007. This film is none other than Paranormal Activity. But hang on, before we talk about Paranormal Activity, I want to give my flowers to other found footage movies that came after. Cloverfield came out a year later, which is another common title when mentioned in the found footage argument discussion. Cloverfield was so cool because you couldn't see shit for most of the movie. The idea of a crazy monster thing that's roaming the streets and destroying things is terrifying. I also love the fact that it jumps right into it and really gives a feel of a found footage movie. Then in 2012, we got Chronicle.
You're probably gonna want to get this on camera.
Which was so badass when I saw it for the first, second, third time. I was a kid when it came out, so target market. If you have never heard or seen this movie, do it. I don't know if it still holds up today, but still do it. It's a found footage movie where the kids get superpowers. That's badass. Go watch it. After this video, of course. If you had Netflix in 2012, then you probably remember seeing VHS on there. And VHS had one scene that I remember vividly. I don't remember the rest of the movie, but I remember one scene. It was the scene with this girl on it. It was pretty sick. Anyways, Paranormal Activity. The movie was produced, written, directed, photographed, and edited by a man named Oren Peli. Oren Peli. I don't know if I say that right. Maybe it's Oren Peli. I don't know. But yeah. This movie was huge. But how? It was developed as an independent feature and was shown in Screamfest Horror Film Festival. And it was rejected by Sundance. Your loss, buds. Your loss. The results of this were very beneficial since Kirill Baru, definitely butchered that one, was very fond of the movie. Baru was an assistant at CAA, Creative Artists Agency, and shortly after signed to represent Peli. Paranormal Activity was shot for $15,000. That's a cup of Starbucks nowadays with inflation. I tell you what, goddamn. Unless you include the Paramount Pictures ending, which added another $200,000 to the budget, which, goddamn. It's literally way more than what the movie cost to make, and Paramount Pictures was just like, you know what, let's put $200,000 on an ending. Which, yes, the movie got picked up by Paramount. Huge. The movie made a total of a whopping $194 million, which, if you go back to the budget, that's a lot of profit. And Paramount and DreamWorks eventually got the rights to the movie for $350,000, which is a steal in my opinion. Jason Blum and Steven Spielberg eventually also got their dirty little greasy fingers on this movie because how could you not? Funny enough, DreamWorks actually wanted to remake the entire movie. They were like, hey, let's remake the whole movie and we'll include the original in the DVD. And then they showed it to a live audience and the audience members started to leave. Now, obviously the head honchos were like, shit, this movie's bombing, but turns out they were leaving because it was so scary. They decided to just keep the $15,000 version, the original, for release. Paramount eventually cut, changed, modified a bunch of scenes, and even added their own ending. The ending that was eventually shown in theaters, Paramount's version, was the only one with visual effects, hence the $200,000, I would assume. Not a bad idea, but could have done without it. I mean, $200,000, damn! For visual effects, I don't know about that. The movie was nominated for Best First Feature in the Independent Spirit Awards 2009, and there were many more movies made in the future. Some people have an opinion on those movies. Now is not the place for mine. Now that we got some quick little lore out of the way, let's talk about the contents of the movie. Spoilers. And then we can talk about the movie in a retrospective lens. Let's get right into I'm gonna try to keep this short because I know that I am a professional yap star when it comes to talk about literally anything, so bear with me. This is Katie, this is Micah. I know in the movie they say like Mika or some other weird thing, but come on. It's Micah. Even though I know that's a real actor's name, but chill. I'm gonna say Micah, take it or leave it. They get a new house and Katie has had some paranormal events in the past. She has some history with it. So they set up a camera to make sure no funny business happens in the middle of the night. And hopefully we can catch some of our funny business on film. Am I right, Katie? Give me some skin. Dr. Fredericks comes over and he tells the couple that there is a demon in their house trying to scare and torment them, obviously as demons do.
Thank you so much for coming back.
Certainly doesn't like that I'm here, and I cannot help you.
What?
In fact, I've got to get out of here. This thing is very aggravated.
Honestly, nobody cares about the daytime scenes, so that's kind of why I'm skimming through them. Shout out Kim K and that Drake bar. The nights get progressively worse, starting with like lights turning on, doors opening, and little noises. Turning on the light while them sleeping is truly devilish activities. Motherfuckers running up that electricity bill. This demon hates them. Eventually through the night we hear loud and violent noises, and then the demon eventually possesses Katie. The infamous scene of Katie watching over Micah happens, and many movies copied and parodied this scene because it's spooky. She's there for hours and then eventually traverses outside. When shown the footage the next day, she does not recall ever doing that. I hope not. Oh yeah, I was just watching you sleep, babe. Why are you acting so weird? Micah decides there needs to be a fix. The doctor from before said not to mess with it unless there's a demonologist present, but Micah has to take matters into his own hands. Nobody gets into my wife's body other than me. Boyfriend of the Year award goes to Micah for his performance of bringing a damn Ouija board to get rid of the demon that's been scaring his girlfriend. Clap it up for Micah. Micah and Katie leave the house and the planchette moves on its own and then catches on fire. You know how much film they gotta be wasting in this movie? Like, we don't have the money to be running the camera on all the time unless we're sleeping, especially with this damn ghost running around turning on the lights during nap time. Katie wants a demonologist to come over and Micah says no, because trust me, got it under control. Micah then puts a line of baby powder on the floor just in case if we see footprints, which we do eventually, and they look like that. But couldn't the ghost just float over the baby powder or at least jump over it? It's almost like the ghost wants to be caught. The footprints lead to the attic, which has a burnt picture of Katie from her childhood in there, which she did not bring to the house. This is about the time whenever Paramount started foaming and drooling from the mouth because they realized that they can make at least 4 more movies from this scene alone. The demonologist is out of town. Yeah, right. And Dr. Fredericks doesn't want to come back. Understandable. I mean, I probably wouldn't either. Finally, we get to night 20, and yes, all of this happened in 20 days, or 20 nights, 19 days, whatever. Kitty gets dragged out of bed and bitten by this freaky-ass demon. Micah now decides that he wants to leave, but Katie doesn't. Nighttime arrives again and Katie gets cozy. Aw, look at her. And then goes downstairs. One of the creepiest and most traumatizing scenes for me as a kid, will now start. Katie screams at the top of her lungs and Micah goes to help her. Then Micah starts screaming as well, joined with a loud bang. Silence occurs until that is broken with Micah being downbeat by Demon Katie, knocking down the camera. Katie then stands at the doorway with bloodstains all over her shirt, slowly making her way to Micah's body. She gets down near him and then sees the camera. Then with a smirk on her face, she lunges towards it. She also, during the scene, has like a demon face. Hence the $200,000. Then we get text that Micah's body was found by the police without any signs of Katie. What a creepy ending, man. I love how this movie ends because you don't know what happened to Katie. Micah didn't expel the demon out of her and then they hug each other saying, "Oh, that was so scary, I love you." It wasn't a happy ending and it's all over now. Then something happens after credits because we might want a part 2. It doesn't end like that. Micah died and then Katie dipped. Then the text at the end, love it, but that's not the original ending, remember? In the original ending, Katie comes back to the room alone with a knife covered in blood and rocks back and forth on the ground. Once morning comes, Katie's friend Amber leaves a message that she's worried and then finds Micah downstairs. She runs away calling the cops, as someone would do. And when they show up, they find Katie, who then switches back to normal and asks about Micah. The attic door slams all by itself, and while scared, the cop shoots Katie. The police officers continue their search while text appears saying that the film is dedicated to Micah and Katie. I also love this ending. It leaves you thinking after the movie, dedicated? How much of this is real? This was the ending shown at Screamfest, and unfortunately it got released only due to a leak. Then the last ending is the same as the one I just said, but instead of waiting till morning rocking back and forth, she takes the knife and then uses it on herself. Paranormal Activity, as said before, broke grounds. I mean, $194 million, you don't make that with a trash movie. People were believing it. They were truly scared and it felt like they just saw something that they shouldn't see and definitely will be attending church next Sunday. And all I have to say is isn't that what horror movies are all about, man? That's awesome. Sure, it's a little cheesy now, but this is the OG cheese. There was nothing like this before it. Well, you know what I mean. Blair Witch is known to be the movie that really introduced found footage to the general public and mainstream, and I can get behind that. It makes perfect sense to me. I totally understand it. But my thing is that you honestly kind of have to be locked in for that movie. I mean, you don't, but you kind of do. I mean, in all honesty, some people could probably ask like, wait, what happened to the map? Or why don't they just go back to the car? But in Paranormal Activity, you can literally skip to just the nights and still get the same effect. Like, sure, you'll miss a couple of things, but you know, it's kind of just like surface level stuff. Blair Witch was huge, but Paranormal Activity blew up. I mean, it was only showed in like a couple movie theaters, then more and more and more, then nationwide, then worldwide. It's awesome. It was the mainstream found footage paranormal movie. I can imagine watching it in movie theaters. You had to be so immersed because obviously it's loud, but there was only one big movie that was like this before. And then after that movie, there was nothing for 9 years. Also, you know, some people don't like found footage movies, and I can respect that. You know, the camera work is usually unstable. Shout out Cloverfield. And some people could also say that found footage movies are boring since it's literally a vlog, but with some spooky stuff happening. So I can get behind that. You show anybody over 35 a first-person shooter game, and they are gonna say that they are nauseous. So I can understand how some people don't like found footage movies and stuff like that. But what I will say is that Paranormal Activity, while being a found footage movie, it's on a tripod, so it's not really a found footage movie. Or it is, but it's not handheld or anything. So the people that didn't like Blair Witch because of that, they can like this movie because it's on a tripod. And yes, there is jump scares, but they're not that cheap. In this movie, there's plenty of spooky imagery to be found in this movie. Whenever Micah gets thrown and she's at the door, first off, everyone sees her at the door and they're like, And then she's just creepily walking up and everyone's on the edge of their seat wondering what she's gonna do next. And then that jump scare, I mean, that's a classic jump scare. It makes complete sense why this movie did so well in theaters. I need another Paranormal Activity 1, man. I didn't get to see the first one in theaters, so I would love to experience something like this. A24, please make it happen. I say A24 because imagine if Hereditary and Paranormal Activity had a baby. That would be awesome. I will be there opening night and then see it 3 more times and show my friends because I want to see them get scared. Let's make it happen. Anyways, I think I yapped long enough. Originally, I was gonna make this video on just found footage movies, so if you would like me to make another one, let me know in the comments because I can start doing my research and scripting that. Also, thank you for the love on the last 3 videos. That's awesome. And I hope you like this one as well. If A24 releases a found footage movie that's spooky like this, I want royalties. I'm just joking, but man, that would be so cool. Please make it happen. All right, see ya.